Hi everyone, Grandmaster Ben Finegold here. I just walked outside, sat down on the deck again. I was like, I'll make a video. It's nice out here. A couple of birds are pretty noisy. Maybe they'll keep it down because they know I'm making a video. So there's a well-known adage in chess that you got to beat them while they're young. In fact, I've taken advantage of this adage. I beat Sam Sevian. I think he was like 2 or 3 years old, and now, yeah, I'm not going to beat him anymore. And I did draw Jeffrey Zhang when he was also very young, and no, I'm not going to draw him anymore. But another adage, which isn't so well known, is to beat them while they're old. And so there's a lot of grandmasters that between the ages of, let's say, 15 and 50, I never beat. And when they get into their late 50s and 60s and 70s, then I have a chance. A good example is the game I'm going to show you now with Anatoly Lein. Anatoly Lein beat me in the World Open. Wow, it must have been in the early to mid 80s, and he wasn't in his prime, but he was pretty good. He was still past his prime, but I hadn't gotten to my strongest yet, and he was still a good player. And then I've beaten him a couple times since. Actually, now that I think of it, I've beaten him 3 times in the last 15 years. Once was actually on time, but yeah. So Anatoly Lane is currently, I think, in his early 80s, and I think I've played him once in his 60s and twice in his 70s, maybe. And still a master player, but of course, once you get in your 70s and 80s, it's hard to maintain your strength. I mean, in my 40s, I realized my strength was dwindling, so if somehow I get to live to the age of 70 or 80, which seems unlikely, yeah, I'm not going to play too well. Okay, so this is in the Chicago Open. I played in several Chicago Opens in suburban Chicago. This is 2010. I played the Sicilian. And some of you may recognize this position from a previous video. This is a game that I beat Arthur Bisguyer. And after e6, he traded on c6. Of course, in the Bisguyer video, I explained that I want to play knight ge7 and defend my knight. And then if he takes my knight ever, I can take back with the knight and keep my pawn structure safe. Okay, so takes, b takes, d3. And again, if you watched the Bisguyer video already, you'll remember the knight maneuver, which I also did this game, knight e7 to g6. Now here the games diverged. Bisguyer played sort of boring, and I got equality pretty quickly. Lane played exciting and boring at the same time. He's a very interesting strategical player. Played queen e2, which is a bit mysterious. And then after knight g6, he played h4. Well, yeah, my knight can't go to e5 or f4. So if he plays h5, that's sort of annoying. Yeah. So I played queen c7, and now my knight can't go to e5 or f4. Hooray! Yeah, I did something. Okay, I'm not as bad as I thought I was. Okay, knight f4 is probably more interesting than knight e5. So Lane played the move g3. And yeah, I wasn't sure what to do here, so I played h5. I mean, I want to play e5 like I did against Bisguyer and build a big center, but I mean, if he plays h5 and kicks my knight, that's not very nice. Okay, he played b3, which is a typical move in this opening. You sometimes fianchetto your bishop, and probably of equal importance is you're defending the c4 square. You don't want black to ever play c4 unless he's sacrificing a pawn. And if he never plays c4, he has this double pawns on the c file. So b3 makes some sense. Okay, e5 as advertised. Knight bd2. It's dangerous to play d5 now because my king is on e8 and his queen's on e2. So maybe his queen e2 wasn't so mysterious after all. Okay, so I played d6. The center's blocked, so I'm not really in a big hurry to do what I want to do. I can slowly build up, and there's not like going to be a tactical move that destroys me since the position's pretty closed. Okay, knight c4. Normally this knight is trying to head to f5 maybe. And I played knight to e7, which defends the f5 square. And now, since I played h5, I can play g6 at some point and defend my h-pawn. Then I can put my bishop on either g7 or h6. Sort of a new idea for me. And again, he played a very unusual move, knight h2. And, well, one idea is to play f4, so he's unblocking his f-pawn, obviously. But the other idea is to keep maneuvering his knight around. Move your knight to e3 maybe, control some important squares. Okay, and Yeah, now I decided I wanted to play d5 since it hits his knight and gains a tempo. But if I play d5 and he takes it, my e-pawn is insufficiently defended. I'll lose a pawn here. So I broke one of my rules. I played the move f6. And the idea, obviously, is to play d5. And I have a nice center. And after knight e3, I played d5. So I got sort of the pawn center I wanted, although I moved my knight a few times. On the other hand, he moved both of his knights a few times. It's a block center, so it's okay to move around. All right, I can't really complain about my center now. Now, at some point, I will play c4 for obvious reasons. The first one is it's explosive, but the other one is I'll open up the position for my bishops. And I'm not going to do it right away, but it's always in the air. And he played c4, so now it's not in the air anymore. And now the center's totally blocked. And of course, as you've all learned a long time ago, blocked positions usually favor the knights. And my opponent has more knights than I do, and I have more bishops, so he wants it blocked. Okay, I gained as much space as I possibly could, d4. His knight went back to d1. Not sure where his knight should go. There's not too many good squares. And I played knight g6 so my bishop could get out, and also so I control the f4 square, making it difficult for him to play f4. He played knight b2. Looks like he's heading to a4 and put pressure on my double pawn. Bishop d6. Yeah, knight a4, I was right. And now I did it again. I maneuvered my knight some more. E6 is a really good square for my knight because I defend my double pawn, and I also try to prevent f4. So I played knight f8. And after bishop a3 attacking my pawn, I played knight e6. So, well, you have to be a better chess player than me to figure out how many times this knight moved. Let's see, knight e7, knight g6, knight back to e7. Let's see, then what did I do? I went back to g6. e7, g6, e7, g6. Yeah. So I played knight e7, knight g6, knight e7, knight g6, knight f8, knight e6. That's why they pay me the big bucks. Okay, you can't get the Grandmaster title without that. In fact, I have a memory from this tournament I just remembered from saying all that nonsense. So maybe nonsense isn't bad. I became a Grandmaster officially like at the very end of 2009, the beginning of 2010. And this was played in May of 2010. And I remember Bill Goichberg, who doesn't make a lot of announcements at his tournaments, he actually announced that I just got the Grandmaster title, and everybody clapped. I think everybody clapped. Some people were booing, but maybe they were saying boo earns. I wasn't sure. I asked Hans Moleman. He was saying boo earns. If you're one of the people who created The Simpsons, don't sue me. Okay, now he made an interesting move here. He castled long. It seems like if his king is in the center or on either wing, it's safe. Everything's blocked up. And now I had a really interesting idea. And Anatoly Lein is known to be not the friendliest person, although sometimes he's really friendly. He'll go up to a 12, 1300 player and start analyzing chess with them. But after the game, we were looking at it a little, and I said I was really proud of this idea that I had. And he said, your idea? Boy, was he mad. He thought this was a normal idea that had been played 1,000,000 times, 1,000 years ago, so it wasn't my idea. But anyway, I know you guys are going to like it, because generally when you watch my videos, it's because you like them. So when I do something interesting, usually you guys like it. And, well, it's hard to win this position if you don't do anything. And I actually found a really interesting thing to do. I played bishop a6, which looks very silly. And after he made a random move, queen d2, I played bishop to b5. Of course, I want to take his knight on a4. That would open the b file and give him double isolated pawns. I wouldn't mind if he played knight to b2 and retreated his knight, because then eventually I could play a5, a4, and open up the queen side. So a piece is a piece. He took my piece. Actually, I'm not sacrificing a piece in theory, but I am sacrificing a piece because I actually can't, I don't lose a piece if I don't want to, but actually I want to. Well, okay, his knight, if I take his knight, I'm not losing a piece. So he played knight b2. And now most of you are probably thinking that I won my piece back with b4, but that's actually positionally not very strong. After b4, he'd play knight c4, and after I take, I still can't do anything, and his knight is beautiful on c4. Maybe I'd rather take black here, but I wasn't really in a hurry to win back the piece. His pieces aren't very good. So after knight b2, instead of playing b4 and getting my piece back, I built up the pressure with the move a5. And I just want to push on the queen side. I don't really mind being down a piece because look at his pieces. Well, it's not really scared of his pieces. I mean, what are they doing? And I have a beautiful pawn chain, well, all across the board. My king is very safe, and eventually I can just bust through on the queen side. So I like this idea of sacking a piece and just pushing my pawns through eventually. Okay, he followed my rule. He played king b1. Makes sense to get off the c file. I castled. I wasn't in a hurry. Queen c2. Rook fb8, getting all my pieces involved in the attack. Rook c1. And basically he's waiting for me to play b4, which I showed you earlier, so he can get this beautiful c4 square for his knight or his queen. He can play knight a4 also. And I'm winning my piece back, but positionally my game's not very good. I'd rather not win my piece back and have these pieces here be really bad. Okay, queen to d7. Again, I'm not in a hurry, so I'm just lining my pieces up on the best squares I can find. He played knight d1, deciding he didn't want to lose a piece anymore. So if I ever do play b4 now, he can just save himself. So now he's really up a piece. a4. And this shows the idea behind queen d7 last move. If my queen was on c7, which is where it was, he could play b4 here. And even though that loses a pawn maybe, or maybe it doesn't, he would have a chance to trade queens. I really don't want to trade queens. Okay, so bishop b2. I traded on b3. He could take either way. I don't recommend either way. Yeah, if he takes with the a pawn, I can double or triple on the a file. He took with the queen, so now his queen is defending his a2 pawn. But now I play a nice pawn sacrifice, c4, which is, that's right, explosive, very good. And he took, and I played knight c5. His queen has to move away from his a pawn, so he did. And I attacked his a pawn, threatening queen a2 mate. And you can see, even though I'm down a piece, again, I'm not super afraid of his pieces. Yeah, especially the king side pieces. Wow, that's terrible. Okay, so he stopped mate. He's a grandmaster. He played a3. And I played b4. Obviously, he can't take on b4 because I play queen a2 mate. As I like to say, with advantage. If I play b takes a3, that has been deemed to be worse than checkmate. So, yeah, you don't want that to happen. So he played a4. And, okay, everything wins, but I played d3, attacking his queen. I'd like to take with the queen on a4, but I don't want to trade queens. So this forces his queen to move away. And then I played queen takes a4. Yeah, so this position's a lot different than the one we had here on move 19, when it looked like everything was blocked up. Because of the piece sacrifice, I was able to break through, and just 13 moves later, we have this position, which is really brutal. And the king side pieces here just didn't move after he played the move knight h2 on move 12. His knight and rook just stayed there. In fact, his rook didn't move the whole game. And for all of his knight maneuvering, knight on d1 is not very good. My knight on c5 actually found a good square after moving it around a lot. And what more important was the king position. It looked like both of our kings were safe because of the blocked nature of the position, but I was able to open things up. Yeah, and that was one of the first tournaments I played as a grandmaster, so that was nice. Chicago Open. I've played in many of those. Well, I hope you enjoyed that game. You can like and subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on the internet. Please don't forget to donate. We're trying to open our chess center in 6 months. March 6th tomorrow is my half birthday. I'll be 47 and a half, and it's also my wife's son's birthday. He turns 8 tomorrow. We went to a birthday party today, so I have to take some drugs for all the cake that I had. So if I'm alive tomorrow, I'll try to make another video. This is Grandmaster Ben Finegold. I hope you liked that video, and see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.